So the Runelite Dilemma. The issue with Runelite and that Jagex has with Runelite and things like Runelite is a kind of complicated issue. It's something I wanted to talk about in today's video. Basically, Jagex is a company that makes a game or manages a game, right? Old school RuneScape, and things like Runelite are like checked and verified by them so that they don't contain like malicious code. But the issue that they have as a company now is that I would say a majority of the players playing this game, especially ones that aren't on mobile, play the game on Runelite. I'm playing it on Runelite right now, as you can tell, because of the graphical effects, and it's like showing me item names and values. Like that's not default in the game. So so what does Jagex do about this problem? It's definitely a complicated issue for them because obviously they want to focus on managing the game and having control over it. And they're definitely in a kind of like catch 22 situation. Now, I'm not saying this to condone their actions for what they did to 117scape. They definitely fucked him over. And by not telling him to stop working on it sooner and letting him spend all this time and energy in making this amazing plugin for Runelite and then telling him to stop at the last second was a huge dick move. And I know I myself am not going to forgive them for this. I don't think there's anything they can do to fix it. They can revert this and allow the HD client, but they're still going to cancel it in the future anyways. So there's this issue that they have to figure out where they want control over their game. It's their game. They own it, whatever, that's fine. They made it, great. But the problem is Runelite and plugins for Runelite and things like, OS Buddy as well, to a lesser degree, because Runelite's extremely popular nowadays. The problem is Jagex doesn't have complete control over their game when we run these programs. So they're probably in a constant state of panic where they're just hoping that nothing bad happens. There are totally Runelite plugins you can install that are against the terms of service. Most of them aren't, but there are some that are, that you can download from GitHub and shit. So there's definitely this issue where they don't have direct control over how people play their game. But the other thing too is a lot of these things were made out of necessity, right? The agility marker identifier where it shows you where to click on for when you're doing agility, going through the courses, was a polish feature that wasn't in the game. They just recently added it in the official thing, but it wasn't in the game until recently. So a lot of the Runelite plugins just exist because of a lack of updates or lack of polish. And there's this weird relationship between the company Jagex and their player base, where the player base seems to be able to rapidly develop Runelite plugins faster than Jagex can create certain features. Right now we'd have HD RuneScape, with a Runelite plugin, but they killed it. They have plans for one, but it's probably going to take some time before it ships. So it's not like it's about to ship tomorrow. It's going to be some time. So they just killed it for no reason. It doesn't even harm anything, so there was no reason to do this. But it kind of highlights this issue that Jagex is always going to have, where so much of us use Runelite already that to get us to not use Runelite, they have to make the base client amazing. And to me, them banning this, these third-party graphical plugins, was just an attempt to even the playing field. So it's definitely an underhanded thing. It wasn't it's certainly not altruistic, and it's definitely not good for the community. We would have HD right now, but they were you know what? We're going to force you to look at this ugly water texture for the next 3 years or however long it takes them to develop a fucking water shader. You're just going to have to deal with the lack of lighting, basic lighting in the game. The games have been flat forever, and it would not hurt to have an optional shader, but there's definitely this antagonism from Jagex to the community, where the community is moving full steam ahead on certain things, and Jagex almost seems like they exist to put the brakes on the community rather than make interesting and compelling content. And right now they're just playing catch up with Runelite. They're just trying to get to the same degree of quality that Runelite offers and like all the features and functionality. Like if I open up Runelite right now, there's all these different features I can turn on and off. Like it's insane. There's all these different timers. Like there's things for every single mini game. Like there's like a mini game solver for barrows even. This is a random example. Entity hider. You have like emojis, drift nets, like the GPU settings, grand exchange, ground items. Ground items is one of my favorite features. I like how you can have items highlighted that are worth a certain amount of money. So like if you get like a thing over 10 mil to be in this color, and you can customize the colors too. So like whenever I get like a green or an orange item, it's kind of hype. And then if I get a magenta item, it's very hype. But this isn't in the game normally, but it should be. There's no reason for it not to be. Like these are just nice features. You can also hide items. So like all of these things, especially NPC aggression timer, they would never fucking add this to the game. Are you kidding me? They would never add NPC aggression to the game where it tells you how long until NPCs become unaggressive. This is the most useful thing for AFK training at sand, anemnite, crabs, and to some degree for splashing. Because you stop retaliating after 20 minutes while splashing. So the NPC aggression timer plus the bounding box is so fucking useful. Like everyone uses this. Like if I'm at sand crabs or anemnite and it tells me the thing isn't working properly and you have to teleport away or enter a dungeon, I'll do it every single time and rezone and then come back just so I can get the bounding box, because it makes it so easy. You know exactly where you need to go to reset aggro. It's so fucking convenient. They would never add this in the official game. I would be shocked if they added this, because this is in their eyes, this is like abusing the game, because they want you to be like never AFK training and always be paying attention to the game to some degree. So like they're features that they would just simply never add. So if the plan is to phase out Runelite, you're going to piss off a lot of people, and those people pay the bills, right? Like they pay for shit. You know, they pay for their membership. So if you piss off all the people who pay for membership, you're going to get a lot of people canceling. And if you just keep doing this thing where you antagonize your fan base and your following and your community, there's going to be consequences for that, right? So like as much as Jagex hates the situation, I think the situation is that people love like the features of Runelite, like this fish highlighting thing. This was in Runelite forever. This shit, I think, just recently got added in the base game. Why this wasn't added when they re-released this, like the OSRS, or I guess if like first released it in like 2013 or whatever. Why this wasn't a feature blows my mind. Why the water still looks bad. Why everything's like still mismatched. Like they've had 8 years of working on updates for this game to fix the graphical style, to add lighting. Why now? It's very strange that all of a sudden they had zero plans. They even openly said we have zero plans for updating the graphics. All of a sudden they have an interest now. It's just very, like the timing is just bad. But I understand they have a unique like problem, right? Where most of their players don't use the official client. So it'd be like if you were playing like Team Fortress 2 and instead of running Team Fortress 2 from Steam, most people downloaded some third-party thing called like Team Fortress 2 Unlocked or something, or whatever the fuck. Like it would have its own name. And everyone played on that. Like 80 or 90% of the players played on that. And then Valve goes to update TF2, but then they also have to work with this other software that most people use. Like it is a strange and like very specific situation that they're in that I don't think we've really seen in games before, where their game is being like run through this like third-party plugin. So it is very strange. So they have to deal with that fact. But the other thing too is that if the base client was so good that you never even needed these plugins, then no one would run them. So it's never been good enough. Like even right now, it's still not even close to being good enough. And even with a graphics overhaul, switching off of Runelite to the base game, you're going to be losing a lot of functions. Like even this right here, this is not in the base game. This inventory thing where it shows you like how close it needs to be dragged. This is a nice little Runelite feature. And look at my health and prayer. Like this is so fucking convenient when you're like PKing or something. You're like, oh, I'm at like 20 prayer, and then you just hit a dose of a prayer pot, like instead of having to look up here. Because most of your attention is on here when you're PKing, switching items, switching prayers. making sure your health and prayer are good so you don't get smited. So like this like dynamic health and prayer bar should be in the game, but it's not. Instead, you have to like look up here in this tiny little fucking orb. it's just oh yeah, and then they have this spec bar that doesn't work in PvP, which why would you have a mechanic that only works in PvE? Like you have to specifically switch to your weapon whatever combat options to spec, but then in PvE you can use this. Like either have it work in both or just get rid of it. It's such a dumb feature. Like it's stupid, right? Because let's say you're a PVMer and you want to get into PKing, you might actually click on this a few times to spec and then nothing happens, and you'll be like, oh, like it's just dumb. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there's like a lot of features. Like even right now, fishing, fish caught, fish per hour, and then if I go hit over here, if I expand this, it's telling me my XP per hour. Right now I'm going for 70 fishing. I'm getting to 58, then I'm switching to barbarian fishing. So I'm getting base 70s on my main. That's great. But it tells you how many you need, like how many actions you need to level up, XP left. Now, obviously, in the case of catching salmon and trout, it can't accurately predict actions because I believe, let's see, 50. Yeah, so each one's worth a different amount, so it's going to change, but it's like an approximation. If you were doing something like magic logs or something, it would be more accurate. But even XP trackers like this are so amazing, especially for like training magic or ranged or whatever the hell, just so you can see how much XP per hour you're getting. It can track multiple stats simultaneously. This isn't in the base game either. I don't really use this grand exchange thing. I guess I kind of just revealed a moneymaker that I've been doing on accident. I guess we're leaving this in. All right, so here's a moneymaker I've been doing. I'm basically screwing myself by doing this, but honestly, if Jagex continues to make these like anti-player decisions, I'm not going to be playing this game because it's like if they just ban Runelite and the base client has no similar features, it's just going to be like shitty. But yeah, what you do is you buy Godbook pages for cheap, you throw them in a set, and like in some cases, literally double your money. So there you go. That's an accidental moneymaker that got put in this video. But you can see here, with this Grand Exchange tab, I can literally look at what my Grand Exchange progress is for items without having to keep track of it over here with like text. I can just see it. It's like, oh, okay, here's all the... Like, there's so many useful features, it's crazy. There's like screen markers, loot tracker. Loot tracker is so cool for like seeing how much money you're making. You can kind of get a good idea for how much money you're making per hour. If you're doing like bossing or PKing, you can get a good feel for how much money you PK'd, especially if you loot most things. The high score things is nice. You can just right-click someone, just look them up. So this guy's an Iron Man, for example. Let's see if he's hardcore. Oh, he is. Is he ultimate? No, he's hardcore. So this guy just made a hardcore Iron Man. I can look him up by right-clicking look up. You can right-click people's names and just add them. I don't know if that's in the base game, but I usually have public off, but you get the idea. There's a lot of features. Skill calculator. Honestly, I've seen this icon. I've never used the skill calculator, but it can. Jesus Christ! Like, look at this. This is insane, dude. Like, there's no fucking way the official client is gonna have this level of functionality. There's no fucking way. And if they ban Runelite, they're just gonna be pissing a lot of people off. Honestly, their smartest move, in my opinion, is to look at all of the big features everyone loves about Runelite and just start rapidly releasing those as optional like settings. That's what I would do, because you already know what people like. They like the high scores thing. They like the calculators thing. They like Quest Helper, which is amazing. Quest Helper makes quests enjoyable, and like because it makes it like a modern thing. But yeah, so it's definitely complicated. All right, so to kind of wrap up, it's definitely a complicated issue. I know they're gonna have this problem because like I've actually shipped a few indie games. Nothing crazy, no MMOs, no online shit. Just some single player like RPGs, and I can kind of understand why they're probably frustrated with the situation, because like they're working on content for the game. They just want to manage the game, but the thing they have to deal with is most people don't even run their actual client. So they're probably not just upset about that, but like they have to deal with the reality that they don't have like control over their product, which is a weird situation to be in. So I see where they're coming from, where they're trying to take control of what's going on. But unfortunately, the situation is such that by doing this, they're just going to continually piss off their fan base. Unless they can get something really like close to Runelite, or like at least have like 90% of the features that people like on Runelite, and just getting rid of the ones that like they probably wouldn't allow aggro box, for example, even though it's fucking awesome. And let's be real, if you're doing any sort of AFK training, aggro box is a godsend, but they probably wouldn't allow things like that because it's like too game breaky, even though I think it's fine. But if they could get like 90% of the features people like on Runelite before they start talking about banning shit, then they might be okay. Maybe. People will still be upset about it because you're basically taking away a really cool like third-party thing that's way better than the base client. Like there's no way of getting around it. Like it's way better right now. You would have to make the base client fucking amazing. You'd have to make it look, if you're going to make the graphics look better, update all the models and make them look great. Update the graphics and make them look better. Even have like an old school mode version where it still looks like this, and then have like an SD and an HD version. Like they're going to have to do a ton of work visually, mechanically, with like the amount of features. And let's be real, right? Like the RuneScape user interface is not the best. Like just looking at this, like this is updated, and I've modded this with Runelite's plugins. But like if you go to like settings, it's kind of annoying to navigate. Like this sucks, right? Like compare that to this. You just hit a thing and then boom, you're in settings and you can type it in. Like this is so fucking modern and this is so outdated that it's almost painful to use this. This is amazing. Like, oh, you want low detail mode? Boom. Low detail mode. Awesome. Takes a second. Oh, you need to search for it? Low. Or you can search detail and it's there. Like it's crazy. It's not even close. It's truly not even close. Like this is so modern. Just the fact that I can right click anyone in the game and look them up. You can do this while you're fighting someone in the wild or whatever. You can look up their stats, see if, oh, he probably has vengeance because he's 94 magic or whatever the fuck, and he hasn't been casting magic this whole fight. Like you can figure shit out. Oh, this is a 1 defense peer with 80 strength, so he's not going to be able to spec me out for that much damage. Like you can get someone's account info in like half a second, which is crazy, and I'm sure they don't like that either. But it's already in Runelite, so like I said, if you just roll back people's ability to use Runelite, you're just going to piss them off because there's all these insane features that people are used to now. I'm used to them too. Like, why would I play on a shittier client that doesn't have as many cool features and is not as modern? Like the reality is, even though people like old school RuneScape, people like modern design. Like, look at how clean the shit is. Like, it even integrates into Discord and shit. So you can have like your Discord integrated in with Runelite and like take screenshots, sign into Runelite, time tracking. I don't know what the hell this is for. Oh, it's for like farming. Jesus, they have everything, dude. They have everything. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like there's nothing. It's absolutely crazy that they have all these features. Another thing I would like is drop all like of an item. Like let's say you're in your inventory. Like let's say you have like a salmon. Like some salmon, like right click drop all salmon, for example. That would be a godsend too. Or just auto drop fish, because like let's be real, like when you're training skills like wood cutting and whatever and mining and shit, and you're not like looting the items, it would be nice to have an auto drop feature where you just automatically drop a fish or whatever, or you like catch and release or something. Like right click on your fly fishing rod or your fishing rod and just have it auto release, like shit like that. That would be nice, because like it's annoying to like collected inventory of fish, drop everything. Like honestly, training non-combats is fucking annoying, but the only reason I put up with it is because I'll be like multi-logging and on YouTube watching videos, so it's like it's like a thing I put up with, like because I just care about PKing, right? So I don't give a fuck about getting base 70s. I'm only doing it to get like the whatever the hell, some like quest rewards and shit, and maybe to do the gauntlet just to like try that out. But yeah. I think Jagex has a pretty big problem, and I don't think the solution is just nuking Runelite. I think they're going to have to work out some kind of complicated, nuanced relationship, or they don't, and then they just say fuck it and cut their losses and lose like half the game population. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. If you like this video, definitely leave a like and drop a subscribe or drop a comment. Definitely would like to see what people have to say about this, because it's a very complicated issue. It's not like obviously the thing they did was fucked up, and there's no way that that's going to be made right, even if they allow it at this point, because like they've been ignoring everyone's feedback about a lot of things, and this is just another thing where they're like, here's what we're going to do, deal with it. But people are furious, and a lot of people are talking about canceling their subscriptions. So the thing is, though, like, you don't want it to get to that point. You don't want them to need to be forced to do the right thing, because then it's not doing the right thing. Like, if you put a gun to someone's head and be like, oh, go do this nice thing for someone, or don't do this shitty thing, that's a completely different situation from them just doing it organically and having like the competence to know, hey, maybe we shouldn't kill this optional plugin that doesn't hurt anything for no fucking reason that a guy spent 2 years on. Maybe we shouldn't do that. But unfortunately, I think what's going on is they're trying to forcefully regain control over who uses what, and this is like the first step in a series of actions. I'm sure the next one will be no more Runelite, and then, or no more Runelite OS Buddy, HD client, whatever the fuck. And it'll just keep getting to the point where they force you to use the base client. Now, if I were them, I'm not saying this is the wisest thing to do or that I'm omniscient or know everything. That's definitely not the case. If I were them, what I would do is I would make an announcement where you describe what you want to do long term. I'm talking over years, not right away, where they want the official client to be what everyone uses. So you put that out there. And then I would describe in detail the new features and functionality that will be rolling out over time. So that way, what they would be trying to do is to convince people to come back to the original client by matching or mirroring the features people love in Runelite and putting them in the original, like the base client. And keep doing that until you just keep siphoning people off of Runelite organically from updating your thing, with the intention of eventually not allowing people to use Runelite. Or maybe you just allow them to use Runelite and you're just better than them. Maybe you just do that. Maybe you just have a better client and you don't have to kill Runelite. That'll just maybe just out-compete with Runelite. Maybe that's the move. I think that's a lot wiser. But all right, thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in another video.